The rain poured down hard that night, but what hurt more than the cold was the betrayal. Soaked, shivering, and barefoot, she stood outside the mansion she once called home, now watching through teary eyes as the people she trusted raised their champagne glasses and laughed like she never existed. Just hours ago, she was the woman of the house. Now, they kicked her out like she was nothing more than a problem to be erased. No one cared that she had built this life with love, loyalty, and silent sacrifices. They slammed the door shut behind her, as if her memories meant nothing. But just as she lost hope, headlights cut through the darkness. A luxury car pulled up, its engine still humming as the door swung open. And then he stepped out, her husband. The billionaire everyone thought was away on business. The man they never expected to return so soon. His eyes met hers, and without a word, he knew something was wrong. As he reached out to help her up, the mansion's doors creaked open behind them. What he saw inside would change everything. Because what those women didn't know was she wasn't just the owner of the mansion. She was his everything. He held her close, feeling her heartbeat racing beneath her soaked clothes. She could barely speak through the shock, but the pain in her eyes said everything. Inside the mansion, the women froze, their smiles faltering as they spotted him. One by one, the glasses lowered. Whispers filled the room. They thought they had time. They thought he wouldn't find out. But now he was here, and so was the truth. Waiting to surface, she had always been quiet. Never one to boast about her place in the family or the fortune she helped him build. Most of those women were guests, friends, relatives, even business partners who grew too comfortable, too entitled. When rumors spread that she was gone for good, they moved quickly. Furniture was rearranged. Locks were changed. They treated her like a leftover from another chapter. But what they didn't know was that the mansion was in her name, not his. Hers. As he led her slowly back toward the door, the tension inside the house grew thicker. No one dared to move. He didn't say a word, but his eyes scanned each of their contained. It scanned each of their faces. He knew betrayal when he saw it, and tonight someone was going to answer for it. The moment they stepped back inside, the air shifted. Her wet clothes left a trail across the marble floor, but no one dared to comment. The women who had celebrated her absence just moments ago now stood frozen, caught between guilt and fear. One of them, Vanessa, the one in the bright orange suit, was the first to speak. Her voice trembled behind a forced smile as she said, "We didn't know she was coming back. We thought she had left, for good." But he didn't respond. He was watching everything. Their eyes, their nervous glances. The way one of them slowly slid a phone into her clutch. Behind all the luxury and silk dresses was something darker. This wasn't just about jealousy or power. Something had shifted in this house while she was gone. Her best friend, Leela, the woman in silver, couldn't meet her gaze. They had shared everything once. And now Leela stood silent among the ones who shut her out. In the corner, his sister Bianca clenched her glass a little tighter. She had always wanted control of the estate. She was the one who called the lawyer. The one who questioned the ownership papers when her brother left town. And now, as her brother's eyes landed on her, she realized her plan might have just unraveled too soon. He didn't speak for a long moment. The silence was louder than any shout. The sound of the rain outside mixed with the quiet clinking of a champagne glass being nervously set down. She stood beside him now, trembling not from the cold, but from everything she had just endured, and the memory of how each of those women turned their backs when she begged to be heard. She looked up at her husband, wondering if he really knew how deep this betrayal ran. He slowly walked toward the center of the room, his shoes echoing on the marble floor. Everyone's eyes followed him, unsure of what he was about to do. Vanessa glanced at Bianca, who remained still, her jaw tight. He stopped in front of the fireplace and picked up a photo, one of their wedding day. The frame had been pushed behind newer pictures. He turned and held it up. "This house," he said calmly, "was never about money or property. It was about trust." No one spoke. Not a breath. Then the door to the study creaked open on its own. It had been locked since she left. But now, something had shifted. And inside that room were files, legal ones that Bianca thought had been destroyed. But someone had saved them. The truth wasn't just coming. It was about to crash down on everyone. He stepped toward the study door, his hand brushing against the handle. The room had been untouched for weeks or so, everyone thought. But as he pushed it open, a faint scent of expensive perfume hung in the air. Not his wife's. His eyes narrowed. She followed behind him slowly, her heart pounding, unsure of what they were about to uncover. Inside, the dim light flickered above the desk where the old documents had been kept. Except now, they were neatly stacked in a leather folder, one that hadn't been there before. He picked it up, opened it slowly, and scanned the first few pages. His expression changed. Confusion. Then something colder. His wife stepped closer, trying to read his face. What was in those papers wasn't just about property or betrayal. It was a signed agreement, one that handed over temporary power of attorney to Bianca. But the signatures didn't match. Hers was forged. Gasps came from behind as he turned toward the others. Someone had lied not just to the family, but to the law before anyone could speak. The lights in the mansion flickered again. Then the front door creaked open. A figure stepped in, soaked from the rain, holding an envelope. The lawyer? Unexpected, uninvited, and holding the one piece of truth that could shatter everything. The room went still as the lawyer stepped inside. Rain dripping from his coat. He didn't look at anyone except the man standing near the study, holding the folder with the forged documents. Without a word, he handed over the sealed envelope. The billionaire opened it carefully, scanning each line with eyes that grew colder with every second. Then he looked up, not at Bianca, but at Leila. "You knew," he said quietly. Gasps rippled again. Leila's face turned pale. She opened her mouth, then closed it. The truth was out. Bianca may have forged the papers, but it was Leila who handed over the samples to mimic his wife's signature. Her silence, her betrayal, ran deeper than anyone imagined. She wasn't just a bystander. She had helped erase her best friend from her own life. The lawyer cleared his throat. "What's in that envelope confirms everything. Assets and rights remain fully under her name. The transfer attempt was invalid and illegal." Suddenly, Bianca lunged forward, snatching the documents in desperation. But security, already alerted, moved in and stopped her before she could escape. The tension shattered into chaos. As they led Bianca away, everyone thought it was over. But just before the lawyer turned to leave, he handed one last envelope to the wife. "This came from your late father's estate," he said softly. She opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a deed. Not just to the mansion, but to the entire estate. Land no one knew was in her name all along. Her husband looked at her, stunned. She wasn't just the woman of the house. She was the legacy. And this whole time, no one saw her coming. She stood in the center of the grand hallway, still holding the deed in her hands. The same house that had once turned cold against her now felt like hers again, but not because of the walls or the title, but because she had earned it with silence, grace, and strength no one saw coming. Her husband stepped beside her quietly, proud. No longer just the billionaire figure everyone envied, but the man who finally understood just how much she had endured. Leila slipped away without a word, her silence now a sign of guilt. The others stayed back, unsure of what came next, but she didn't need apologies. What she needed, she already had: truth, justice. and the peace that follows when everything hidden finally comes to light. She walked through the house slowly, letting her fingers trace the furniture, the framed photos, the memories that still lived there. This wasn't just a home. It was a reminder that no matter how many try to erase you, the truth will always return stronger. The rain stopped. The clouds parted just enough to let the light in. And as the front doors quietly closed behind her, it was clear she hadn't just survived the storm. She owned it.